From The Favourite to Broadchurch and more recently The Crown, Olivia Colman is one of our best-loved actresses. But now she's admitted to, at times, finding the limelight embarrassing and dreading the red carpet. So what's her secret to overcoming this? Her clothes. Is sort of power dressing, if you like, to make yourself feel stronger, something you can relate to?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, especially, me and Janet both kind of came up through male-dominated industries. And particularly in the 80s, for me, you know, I was in my early 20s, and so suits, particularly as a journalist, because they always used to say to you, you might have to go to Buckingham Palace, or you might have to go and talk to the bereaved parents, whatever. So you need to be dressed appropriately. No cleavage. If I wore short skirts, it was with very thick black tights, because I kind of wanted to look androgynous. I wanted to be judged on, you know, how I could do the job rather than how I looked. So for me, clothes were most definitely a mask, yeah.
And a form of protection, like armour. I know I think the way that I dressed changed, because when I started out in Fleet Street, I was in my early 20s, I was the youngest woman on the Daily Mail, and I used to wear outrageous clothes to work, but that's what they expected. I was working in, you know, I was deputy fashion editor. I'd turn up at work with knitted shorts on and, you know, emerald green suede knee-high boots and green fur jackets, and then wonder why they were all staring at me. But I was working in the fashion department. But over the next few years, yeah, I was a fashion editor and wrote about fashion a lot. So I love fashion, and I take great pleasure from it. And I never, ever thought about dressing appropriately for my age. I just dress appropriately for my brain. And when I became a boss, I then did wear more power outfits.
So do you think it's your love of fashion that makes you wear kind of what they would call high fashion items, or do you think it is also a bit of a mask?
I love fashion. I just think fashion gives women, women all over the country, no matter what their age, what their income level, fashion just gives you such a boost every day. And one thing that's driven me mad lately is this slagging off of fashion. And we've got all these female MPs that, you know, talking about wasteful fashion and panic buying and how, you know, fast fashion's bad for us. And I think, don't demonise fashion, because it does so many positive things for women. It makes us feel better about ourselves. It needn't cost too much money to give our ego a bit of a boost. And, you know, I would speak out for fashion.
It's also a big industry.
It's a huge British industry. I mean, it's British Fashion Week this week. So, you know, and that's an industry that employs thousands of people. But we do get over-obsessed at the moment with sustainability and protecting the environment. You've got to balance that with making women feel good about themselves, and nothing does that like a great dress or a great T-shirt or a new pair of trainers. And, you know, I just feel we've got to stick up for the fashion business.
I listen to you, and I just really wish that I could speak about when I was growing up, that I could wear whatever I wanted, but unfortunately I couldn't. And I don't blame my parents for this at all, but it was the, you know, it was the 70s and 80s. There weren't many Asian people around, so we were like the only Asians in the village. So my mum wore her traditional clothes, and she would get called names like, oh, look, she's got her pyjamas on, because in those days when you wore tunics over trousers, that wasn't the in thing, and my mum would wear really bright colours.
What's that called, that outfit?
It's called a shalwar kameez. And I have to honestly tell you, for me, I was forced to wear those because it's part of our culture. But I saw wearing those clothes as being different. It was also a way to control. I felt it was like control, and you couldn't express yourself. I was really embarrassed. So I grew up with, like, really weird kind of issues with clothes.
Well, you had to balance.
I had to balance.
Your parents wanted you to be part of their community and their safe world.
That's right.
With your mates, who probably were a bit sneering.
Exactly. And I remember once, and I wanted to be like my mates, because you do when you're like 10 or 11, don't you? I remember once my dad caught me wearing ankle socks. And the next day, he pulled me out of school, and I went to a state school, you know, thousands of kids, and he took me to the local co-op and put me in a school uniform, and I was the only girl in my whole school with a school uniform. So it was just like to say, I'm sending you to school not because for you to think about fashion, but for your education. And so when I remember the first time ever that I earned my own money, I remember going into, in the 80s, it was the chain called Next. That was like the in-store. And I remember going in and just going, I'm going to just go and buy whatever I want. And that was just such freedom.
Yeah.
But, you know, I look back now and I actually feel embarrassed that I didn't have the confidence of being different, because, like, now, wearing a tunic over trousers, everybody does it.
Yeah. They constantly said to me, you're not going out looking like that. So I did what everybody does, every teenager does, the carrier bag, changing in the toilets.
Oh, I wasn't the only one then. That's good. That's good news.